Okay.
So we are recording right now, and it'll be on the Rising Coaches website. If you want me to send it out to you,
Okay.
we can
That'd be
definitely
perfect.
send it out to you as well. All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys. With us today is the one, the only Coach James Stafford. The funny thing about how I met Coach Stafford, so I was looking for work, and I found out Rangers had a new head coach. So I'm doing the whole tree thing. Okay, who left, and all of that. And in the Rising Coaches community is Matthew Scott, who happened to know Coach Stafford, and because of relationship that I built with him, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, Coach James Stafford, he's the one that just got the job. Reach out to him and see what's up." That was a Saturday. I reached out to Coach on Sunday on a whim. Like, man, he just got the job. Probably get 20 million people reaching out to him, but I'm just going to send it out anyways. And to my surprise, within a minute, he responded back, "Hey, thanks for the congrats. Let's connect at a later time." So we kind of stayed in touch then. And when this opportunity come to do my own content on Rising Coaches, I reached out to him because the last thing he said, "Hey man, if I can ever help you, let me know." And I reached out to him, and sure enough, did not hesitate. "Yeah man, just give me the time and date. We'll make it happen." So Coach Stafford, I'm grateful. I appreciate your time again. To kind of give you guys a little background on Coach, started off as a high school coach at the D1 level, coach with Coach Stu Jackson and Van Gundy at the University of Wisconsin. That is, just want to make sure I clarify that. Right. And took a break to do some other stuff in basketball, came back. And as I was doing some research on Coach Stafford, at Rangers, where he was the assistant, they had the winningest run that they've had in the 3 years that he was the assistant there. That I thought was pretty amazing. So not going to say much, Coach Stafford. With that said, floor is yours, sir.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on here. In terms of getting back to you, that's something I just was taught a long time ago. Make sure you always reach out to people, because the people you climb over going up, you're going to see them coming back down. So I just want to make sure I always reach out. Plus, I've been there. I've been there where I've been trying to get in touch with guys and talking to people about jobs. And a lot of people look at my resume and they'll look at it and say, man, he has some great jobs. He worked in Wisconsin. I worked for at Toledo with a Tom Izzo assistant. I worked at Wisconsin with a Rick Pitino assistant. I worked at FAU and SMU with Dean Smith and Roy Williams assistant. People, they see all that. They don't see the 150 jobs that I applied for that I didn't get the opportunity to even talk to anybody or interview for, didn't get the job. So I've lost or not gotten far more jobs than I've had in my time. I've been blessed. I'm extremely blessed right now. So.
All right, so Coach, it's on you however you want to do it. You want to tell us basically, what do you do now that you transition into that big boy seat, like as we call it, right? Yeah. It's easy to do stuff as an assistant, but now that you're the guy, what are you doing beyond the X's and O's to make sure that run that you've had continues?
The biggest thing is, I tell people all the time, there's a whole lot more non-basketball stuff that needs to be done that the head coach has to do. That's the biggest transition for me, because I've always been an assistant at the college level, and it's been a situation where I've been doing a lot of the grinding, the recruiting, and all that kind of thing. And so for me, it's been a huge transition. I'm in a lot more meetings that I want to, especially a lot of these Zoom meetings that I want to be in right now. But the biggest thing that and I try to tell guys is all the time, the heartbeat of your program is going to be players, and you got to recruit. And so I just that's the one area I haven't changed as a head coach that I was as an assistant coach. I've been kind of beating the pavement, beating the phones, because we haven't been able to get out. But trying to ensure that we had the kind of caliber of player that we'll need to kind of continue this run. We've been 60-7 the last 2 years. I think 81-15 the last 3 years. Now I'm walking into a situation where there's a lot of expectations, and I got to do whatever I need to do to make sure we maintain all of those expectations.
Well, you sorted.
I don't know.
Not sure what just happened, but all right, we're gonna keep it rolling. One of the things that about you, Coach. By the way, guys, this is open forum, so whatever questions that you have about anything, feel free to ask. One of the things that I found very interesting that you did, and I really want you to kind of speak on that a little bit, was in the midst of you working at the D1 level, to walk away from the game as a coach to really started the basketball for kids, and which I thought was really interesting for two reasons. One, I heard Coach Bennett talk about this when he was transitioning, getting himself ready to be a head coach. One of the things that he was asked, well, what else are you doing outside of coaching that's impacting the game and other people's lives? And basketball for kids, I thought that was a phenomenal initiative to have. So talk a little bit about that, what got you started in that.
It kind of was funny how it started out. I really, I was struggling with spending a lot of time away from home. And I had my kids were all young at the time. They were very young. And my wife, everything got dumped to my wife, Tracy. And so what I did was I decided to get out of coaching for a little bit. And I had a pretty good severance package when I left SMU, and really I was just working my own son out. He's a pretty talented kid at the time. He was like 8 or 9 years old. I was working him out, and so from that, people just started asking me to work their kids out. So we started out working out kids, and then from that, it developed a couple of teams. And so I had a couple of teams, and we started playing against people, and we were having some success. And then but there were a lot of dads who were coaching their kids who were, always asking me questions, and they were very frustrated, and they knew my background, so they were always coming to me about things. So I thought, why not try to start something that I can help parents become better coaches, or I can coach coaches is what I basically did. And so what we did, we started this basketball for kids. And basically what it was is we would come in and we have mentors, things like this forum, and we get together and we talk about the ups and downs and the struggles that parents were having coaching their teams or youth teams or other guys who were starting up youth programs. And so I got really involved with going to their practices, helping them learn how to structure practices to get the most out of it, because most of them they had like maybe 1 hour a week for 1 hour a week, 1 day a week to work with their kids.
Yo, coach, I got a second. I got a question, man. You suck dick or what?
Damn, nigga, why you look at me like that for? Like, man, what did I do?
I didn't hear what the question was.
Yeah, you didn't want to. Just don't worry about it. Something's wrong with that person, I think.
I don't know if you can delete them or not.
That's what I'm trying to do right now. I have no idea who.
It was Manny. Was it Manny
Mendoza?
Yeah.
Do you guys know who that is?
No.
I have no idea.
So anyway, I guess what I was saying that I was trying to help coaches or parents become better coaches, and younger guys who were trying to get into coaching become better coaches. And so we started a nonprofit, made it a very reasonable fee for people to do it. And basically what we did was I coached coaches, and I spent time with them, mentoring them. I spent time with them talking about how to structure their practices to get the most out of their practices, try to help them figure out what do they need to be doing that would make the team's more efficient at the end of the day. And so that's kind of how it got started. It started out just some people just asking me questions, and then I got with a guy who has done a phenomenal job of developing businesses and selling businesses and things like that. And when he did that, he came to me and said, hey, what about doing this? And we started the business that way. And he did a great job. And I had no thought about doing this as a career or business. It just kind of happened.
So 12 years out, what got you back in? What was the turning point for you to say, you know what, I need to get back in here?
My kids grew up. I mean, that was the biggest thing. So they got bigger and they got more self-sufficient. So, it was a combination of that. And it was a combination when I first started out, I had a really good group with my Plano Wolves because I had a basketball club on top of having the basketball for kids. And so the Plano Wolves, I had at the time about 17, 19 teams, something like that. And so I had a group of kids who stood. The first group I had was basically the second graders when I started out with them, and I had them all the way through their senior year. And so when that group left and those guys went to college and some went to go play ball, some just went to school, I just kind of got that itch to go back into college coaching. My kids were older. My wife and I talked about it. I interviewed for a couple of jobs. I didn't get them. Coach Gillespie reached out to me and was like, hey, I know why you're not getting the jobs. You've been out of the business for too long. Why don't you come over here with me for a year or two? We'll help resurrect your career and get it back going. And so I decided to take the job here at Ranger, and the rest has been history. We've had a great run these last 3 years.
So was there any nervousness, any concerns that you had coming back in? No, I mean, 12 years, that's a big job, especially at a program like Ranger.
No, it wasn't, because the biggest thing like I said before, is recruiting. And I had been doing recruiting, and I coached an EYBL team in the Metroplex. So I was able to do some things while I was out in terms of staying involved with basketball. It was just a matter of me getting with the right person and being able to have the right product to sell. And Ranger was an easy sale for me to people. And then again, like I tell guys all the time, relationships are huge in recruiting and the coaching, and just, guys who, don't do a good job of building relationships, they struggle with the recruiting. If you do a good job of building relationships, the recruiting becomes an easy part of it. So there was no nervousness on my part. Probably the biggest thing that was nervous for me was after being here about 7 weeks. So I didn't get here until after the school year started. 7 weeks in, Coach had kidney failure and some other issues, and he went down. I think it was 9 games in. So I ended up having to coach the last 22. Now, that was a little scary because my first college job as a head coach. And some of the kids, I didn't even know their last name. I knew their first names, but I didn't even know everybody's last name at that point. And I got kind of thrown into it. But it was good, though. I mean, for me, if I could, I wouldn't change the way I got introduced into college basketball as a head coach. I never would have done it. And so I've been fortunate. I've coached 25 games while I've been here at Ranger during this last 3 years. So.
All right. If anybody else got a question? I don't want to be all the ones, jumping our coaches. So feel free to jump in at any time.
Coach, I'm gonna be selfish. So I play football and basketball, Division I level. I'm a head coach now at the high school level. I'm ultra intense. I'm the guy that we're going to work out at 6. I got the Kobe mindset. We're going to work out at 6. We're going to watch film. We're going to get shots up before practice. We're going to go to practice. We're going to do study table. We're going to do push-ups before we go to sleep.
Right.
And then I got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. My 6-year-old kind of got –
you going with this question.
My 6-year-old got that mindset, but my 9-year-old don't. So I really struggle with a lot like you. Like I coach AAU, but I coach a second grade AAU team that's playing in a 4th grade league.
Right.
My kids kind of just a little more skilled than the average 4th grade team. But I really, really struggle to coach my own kid, my 9-year-old, because he don't have the same personality as me. So sometimes it's like, man, I don't even really want to coach you because I feel like I'm not going to get the most out of you and make you not love the game as you grow and get older. And I ain't throw my wife in there. I mean, my wife played high major basketball too. So it's like, man, he get it from so many different ends.
He getting hit hard out there. So
like, what things did you do at, like, coaching your own kids, and then as you grew and coached other kids in that area and build relationships with them, that not only helps you now as a coach, but helps you through that parenting process also?
It was it's funny, man, you guys say that, because like I would say 60% of my club, when I got it up big like that with 19 teams, 60% of my kids came from dads who couldn't coach their kids anymore. So they just turned them over to me. The funny thing about that is you can say the same exact thing that I say to them, and it's going to mean like gold to them for me. And from you, it's just like dad on my butt again. And so my oldest son was a really talented kid, man. He was really, really talented when he was young. And my middle kid was not very talented at all. Kind of what I started doing with my own kids, the best experience I had with them was I made myself the assistant coach on their teams and let somebody else be responsible for coaching, because what you'll have is you'll be in a situation where you gotta monitor the whole team, the game plan, everything. And then your expectation is, well, you're my son and you should know everything because I know everything. You got full access to me. And that's just the expectation that we have. I mean, I went through that same thing with my own kids. But when I became the assistant coach and let somebody else coach the team, he received me a whole lot better. I just did it for that time. And I was still coaching the team basically through somebody else, but it just, for my son, my relationship with my son, I thought that was important, even more so than trying to get those wins at the time, that I had to figure out a way to be able to communicate with him and for him not to feel like, if I'm talking about holding your follow through on your jump shot, it's no different than why are you not doing your math homework? Or why are you not taking out the trash? So to his mind, it was always dad's just on me. So eventually what I started doing, my kids, who all three of my boys played for me, they had to call me Coach Dad. And so that way it was like, they're using both names with me. So they understand, when I'm in this arena, I'm your coach. When I'm at home, I'm your dad. And you got to, some of it I had to put the onus back on them. You got to figure out some of that because when I'm at home, I'm doing what a dad would do. When I'm on the gym, I'm doing what a coach would do. And so the hardest thing is that, your expectations as a parent of your son as a player are higher because you're the coach and you feel like, at times you'll feel like, well, he should know it because I know it. And if he don't know it, he got me 24/7. He can ask me anytime he wants to, so he can know it. So I had to, lower those expectations down and realize he's still a 10-year-old at the end of the day. And that's the hard thing, especially when he has some ability. You kind of forget that he's only 10, so he's making the same mistakes other kids are making. But at the end of the day, you don't think about it. You just like, hey, you should know this. And I don't have to, and I always had this feeling like I don't have time to stop and teach you this stuff because you should already know it. But that wasn't really fair to him. At the end of the day, because he's a 10-year-old. So again, I don't know if I helped you in all that rambling I just did, but I just do know that at the end of the day, it's hard coaching your own kids. That's probably one of the most difficult things you can ever do. And guys who do it and do it well might have to go off to them because it's not easy.
Appreciate that.
That's why I don't coach my kids. I made that very clear to their mom from the get-go. I'm not coaching my son. I'm not coaching my nephews. None of that.
It's tough. It's tough.
Any other questions that we have, fellas?
Hey, Coach. This is Matt O'Brien at Southwestern College in Kansas. How's it going?
Okay. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just looked up your synergy and saw that you guys were excellent at transition defense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's something you can share with us about some of the things you do transition defense and maybe specifically what you do to match up.
One of the things we do a lot of transition defensive drills. Now, Coach Lee usually let me do a lot of the defensive stuff. At the end of the day, a guy told me a long time ago, you got to put emphasis on the things you want to be better at. And so, for me, just transition, we just don't want to give up easy baskets. The really good teams in the country, they don't give up easy baskets. They just don't. And so we talk about sprinting the floor, sprinting back on defense, and then we sprint back to the basket, and then we build our defense out. And we talk about that. So it's a sprint back, communicate, build the defense out. We always tell the guys, you don't have a man in transition. Nobody, so you're not running to your guy, because that's what usually happens and why guys give up transition defensive baskets, because they're running to find their man, and there's another guy that's already by his man, leaving somebody else open. And so the biggest thing is sprint back, talk, build the defense out, and then go from there. So again, we just always say that you don't have a man in transition. So don't go running back looking for a man, get back to the basket, and then turn around, talk, and build yourself out from there.
Coach, so if you have your big as the last guy getting back on defense and he rotates or he, fills to the weak side, to the open man, if that's a guard, you guys are fine with that?
That's what we got to do for the time being. And then what we talk about is if there's an opportunity to get it switched off, switch it back. If not, just go ahead and go. Now, part of that, like the team we'll have this year, I kind of recruited a little differently because of just that situation. I want fives who can actually guard guys on the perimeter so we can switch ball screens. The other thing was just in those kind of situations that you just talked about, now we don't have as bad a matchup issue having to run out and guard a guard on the perimeter at that point. So. But we also do a really good job of talking about being at the help line. I'm a diehard. If you come out in one of our practices, you'll hear me talk about that help line, that we call it the midline, all the time. And usually, like in the beginning of the year, we'll put a piece of white tape right down the middle, and that's the midline. And like we tell our guys, we always have to have 2 to 3 guys on that midline and help. So we want to be able to put pressure on the ball, but at the same time, we want to make sure that when the guys getting pressure, usually when guys get pressure, they're going to push the ball and go right to the basket. But we want them to not have any options when they look at that. So we talk about sprinting back and making sure we want all 5 guys at the midline or the strong side at all times.
Thanks.
Yep.
Oh, I got a question. What do you find are the biggest misconceptions that people have about junior college, and how do you kind of go about kind of debunking those?
I think the biggest one is that the kids aren't smart enough and that they can't play in the system and that kind of deal. As far as what I've done, we have, I think I counted yesterday, we have 7 guys on our roster who are well over 3.0 in high school. I got one kid who was valedictorian of his class. So part of it, I recruit a little differently. I'm big on, I'm trying to have more one and dones than John Calipari has in Kentucky. So I'm trying to bring these guys in for 1 year and get them out. And so that's a good selling point for a kid who feels like he's not being recruited at the level that he wanted to be recruited at. And so we've done a good job of that. I think the last 2 years, we sent 5 or 6 kids out who come here for 1 year and got out after a year. So,
Coach, with the consistent rollover, right?
Yeah.
Everybody talk about culture. What type of things or what activities or things do you do to put in place to create a culture, a winning type culture, to where it's not like at the start of every season, I got to start over with laying the groundwork and making sure we act in the right way and doing the right thing? Because we also know that you have a lot of successful teams when you got really good senior leadership. At the JUCO level and getting kids out in 1 year, it's hard to create that leadership because you learn new personalities each year.
Right.
Like what strategies or things?
Well, because I got a background in AAU, and I tell people sometimes it's almost a glorified AAU coaching junior college basketball because you have so much turnover. And so my background in that, that helps. Now, the other thing is being smart in your recruiting and make sure you get guys who you know are going to be there for 2 years. And usually they do the best job of communicating to the new guys what's expected and what you expect to have. And so like what I did when I took over, I got 2 returning guys who, as soon as I took the job over, I probably met with those guys 3 or 4 times a week, just talking about what the expectations are going to be. What should we be doing, what they should be doing, letting them know that, I need you being a vocal leader in that locker room. And trust me, and on the court, and when you do that, I got your back. And the kids, I think if they know that, hey, I can voice something to the rest of the team, and I know by getting the backlash, coach is going to step right in and give them that kind of confidence. That's just important to be able to do. And so part of it is, being strategic in your recruiting and making sure you get, you're having 2, 3, 4 kids coming back who know what your culture is, know what to expect, and know what we're trying to do and what our goal is. Like our goal every year is to try to win a national championship. And if you talk to any kid that we recruit, that's all we talk about. You're coming here to try to win a national championship. And in doing that, there's certain things that you got to do, the champions do. And this is what we've been doing. So we do a pretty good job. I've done a pretty good job of making sure that the kids we're recruiting, they know why they're here. The kids are coming back. They know why they're coming back. And so a couple of kids aren't coming back because, again, that wasn't important to them. And good kids, they had, selfish agendas on their mind. And we just kind of say, if you come here to Ranger, do what you're supposed to do, and we win like we're supposed to win. Basically what we're doing, like I tell these guys, you guys are all ingredients to a pie. And what we're trying to do is build the biggest pie we could possibly build so that everybody can eat at the end of the day. And so that's just something that, the kids will hear that from me all the time, and we talk about it. There's things like I say to the kids all the time, take care of the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. So there's certain statements that if you were around my kids, they joke and laugh and make fun of me about it. But at least I know when they're doing that it's being ingrained in them, and they know the important things that, we want to get accomplished here at Range.
So,
Hey, Coach, sorry, Mendel.
Go ahead.
I got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
And first, let me just preface it by saying thank you for taking your time and
appreciate
speaking with us. My name is Menelik Fernandez. I'm at Fleming College up here in Canada.
Okay.
First question, they're both subjective questions. They're really just sort of like matter of your opinion. What is your opinion on being a jack of all trades coaches versus being a coach who specializes in something, say like your forte is offensive transition or offense in the half court or whatever? And then the second question is also subjective. What is your opinion on we're going to do what we do versus we're going to alter what we do versus the opponent we're going to?
Let me start the second question first. I'm big on us being who we are. Now, in saying that, I think you have to be flexible enough to adjust to your personnel. Now, once you make the adjustment to your personnel, I think you stick to your guns of who you are. I think that, when you start trying to do too many things that are different from your normal philosophy, one, I think it builds a lack of confidence in you from your players because they're like, why are we doing this different thing? So I'm just big on this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. Now, there's some things you got to tweak from game to game because, it makes more sense. Like sometimes you'll play against a team like, you know what, we have to switch because it just makes more sense for us to switch, even though that's not our normal philosophy. But I think that you kind of have to stick with your guns. And I think I kind of picked that up from when I was at the University of Toledo. We were ranked in the top 25, and we went to play at Duke. And when we played Duke, they probably were, I'm guessing, 15 or 16 in the country that year. It was kind of a down year for them, but they were still was Duke. So we're playing them Sunday night in the ACC game of the week, and a lot of hype and everything. And it's a heck of an experience. Just a heck of an experience going to play there. But so we go in the game. They changed their lineup. And they've started. We played 4 perimeter guys, so they changed their lineup. They put a 4th perimeter guy out there to play against us. We jumped on them like 14-2 to start the game. First media timeout, we were up maybe 16-8 or 16-7. We led the entire first half until J.J. Redick hits a 3 at the buzzer that puts them up by 1 at halftime. We're going to end up losing by 17. They just were too big. Sheldon Williams just was too overpowering for us. After the game, it was Mike Krzyzewski's 700th victory. So they're doing the interview after the game, and they're talking. It's on a loudspeaker in the arena, and we're sitting there listening to it. And he said it was the first time in his career that he had ever adjusted to a team. He said that the reason he did it, he watched us on film, and he said they were just scary. It just, you're watching this team, and we had beat DePaul that year, and DePaul had won the Big East. The year before, we had beat Michigan State. So he had legitimacy in what he was saying, but he was just thinking in his mind, we got to do something different because this team can come in here and beat us. He said he'll never do that again. And then when he said that, I thought to myself, I'll never adjust that much for our opponent. We're going to be who we are. We'll tweak some things if we need to, but I think at the end of the day, you got to stay who you are and stay true to who you are, because at the end of the day, the things that you're doing as a coach, you got confidence in it because you've been doing it. When you start trying to do something you don't do, now you're not sure of yourself. The kids become a little less confident in what's going on, and then you just don't know how that can kind of go the rest of the season. So for me, I say you always stay with who you are. If you're a coach that changes some things, you change it. But for the most part, I would stay who I am, and that's why I'm going to be this year as a head coach. I'm going to stay with who I've always been. So and trust that, and trust in what you do. So remind me of the first question again.
Being a jack of all trades coach versus having some degree of specialization in what you do.
Everybody's different. For me, I would say I probably really specialize in 2 areas. Defense is one of them. I'm just really huge on the defense and the things that we do on the defensive end. As I've been blessed to be around some really good coaches, I've gotten better on the offensive side. But the one area on the offensive side where I kind of is shooting the ball. I mean, we're this team this coming up year probably the best shooting team I've ever coached. And I'm just big on. I want guys who can shoot the ball. But in terms of just philosophy, I think nothing's wrong with being a really good defensive coach. And for a long time, that's what I did. Like even when I had my basketball club and I had youth teams, we were playing games and we win the games like 14-9 and 21-7. And the guy came to me and said, "Coach, your defense is outstanding, but you guys can't score." And so every time we would play a really team that was a little bit more talented than us, it would show. And so I just realized I got to get better on that end of the court. So I think that it's important that you're good in all areas. I think there's some areas that, whatever your strengths are, whatever your personality is, you got to really make sure you hone in on that and do a good job. Again, for me, it's the defensive part because I always feel like, I would rather be in a game where I'm at the end of the game where I'm up 1 and on defense than being down 1 on offense. Because I think I can control more on the defensive side than I can on the offensive side. Sometimes you can do everything right on the offensive end, and the ball just don't go in the basket. But the flip side of that is, good offense is going to be good defense every day. So we try to do things that kind of take people out of stuff before they can kind of get into their rhythm.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
So with moving into the big boy seat, Coach, like we talked about, and with the type of success that you guys have had, what are some of the challenges now that you're the head coach that you are seeing or you're foreseeing happening to meet those expectations?
Part of it, in recruiting, they've tried to do things like say, well, again, you have a new coach. Coach Gillespie was the one here, and he was the one that won the games. So that's a challenge in the recruiting area, just kind of getting people to understand that I've been a head coach for a long time. Coach gives me a lot of freedom, to coach the team, and the fact that I've had 25 games that I've coached while I've been here at Rangers. So that's been one of the first hurdles of getting over that in the recruiting process and getting people to understand, or in some cases, just getting people to reminding people that, yeah, I was the one coaching those EYBL teams that was kicking everybody's butt. So it's not like I'm a guy that's new to this seat. But the biggest challenge, I think, is learning how to manage my time. Whereas assistant coach, all I had to worry about was my recruiting. I kind of knew what I need to do every day. In this position here, there's different things that I'm called to do or asked to do that I haven't had to do before. Like right now with the COVID, and we have like a COVID task force, and I'm always being put in to get my opinion on how it's going to affect basketball or how it's going to affect athletics, and so that's just different. That's something that none of us could plan for, but I certainly didn't expect that I would become somebody that people would lean on and asking about how do we do this and what should we be doing with that kind of deal. And so I think that it's been that's been probably my biggest challenge is trying to manage my time better and making sure that I'm still doing the things that I do well in terms of the recruiting, but the things that I don't do so well, which is say maybe my organization is not quite as good as I would like for it to be. Just working on that and figuring out ways to do it. And kind of it's like being thrown in a fire. I mean, I'm thrown in the fire and you got to figure it out quick. And if you don't figure it out quick, you're going to find yourself in a situation where things are going to kind of build up on you, and that's what you don't want to do. And I'm kind of a guy like, give me a list of things to do, so I'll just start getting through them and exiting them all, like one right after another. And I think that for me, that's been a challenge of putting myself in a position to be able to get those things taken care of on a daily basis. And the last thing I would say has been the biggest challenge that I've had is I got a really good assistant, Todd Shelton, who I hired. He was over at Panola, had been at UNT. I got him over here from Panola, and Todd's great. And one of the things that when I had to take over for coach at times, and he would kind of hit me like, why are we not doing these things? And I'm like, hey, coach, I don't have me. I mean, you got me to be able to help, take care of some of this stuff. I don't have me. Well, I've been really blessed getting Todd Shelton because, he's not like me. So the biggest issue for me is giving stuff over to him and just letting him do it and knowing that it's going to be taken care of. And I'm getting better at it. Like he'll always come to me and say, Coach, Big Dog, I got you. I got this taken care of. And I'm like, Todd, just know it's not anything to do with you. It's just this is the mentality I've always had to have as an assistant coach. And it's different now that I don't have to, I can kind of delegate some things out to guys and get them to be in a position where they're taking care of things, and I trust that they're taking care of things. And they do a great job. My guys do a great job doing it. Todd is excellent at it. I just have to get used to delegating and stepping back and be like, okay, it's taken care of, and don't worry about it.
Talk with us a little bit about, especially at this time, how do you manage your vision for the program and admin's vision of the program? Because earlier you talked about your goal is try to get guys to go in and out with after a year.
Right.
Is there conflict with that, and what do you foresee? Say if situations happen where you have a down year and guys are leaving, how do you counter that and keeping admin at peace?
I guess I don't anticipate we're gonna have that down year because I'm always grinding, man. I stay on the grind. I got backups to the backups to the backups that I'm recruiting to make sure that we don't, kind of have that. But the administration obviously, they want guys to come in here, be here 2 years, get a degree, and move on. And I understand that. What I made a decision that I'm going after different kind of kids because again, if I go after the traditional junior college kids who's gonna be there for 2 years who have academic issues or whatever the situation is. I'm gonna be going after the same kids that everybody else is going after. Now because we do such a good job in graduating guys, and we got a lot of things in place academically, and so parents want to know that. I'm being able to get some kids to come junior college basketball who never in the past would have thought about coming to junior college. And then part of that is we run it as close to a Division I program as you can, and our reason for doing that is two things. One, it's something different, the experience that they would get from any other school. The other reason we do it like that is because we want the transition from here to the next place to be very minimal. So we're using similar terminology. We're doing things similar to how they do it at the Division I level. When our kids leave here, they get a chance to go to where they're going to, and they can be an impact player right away. And last year, this 2019 team, we sent 9 guys to Division I. I think 6 of them ended up being starters at their schools. One ended up coming off the bench, was basically he was the 6th man of the year in their conference. Two other guys were playing well over 15 minutes a game. And so, again, the transition, you know, we set it up like that, and we have something to sell. And when you know, the other thing that I do a pretty good job of, I get past players to get involved with recruiting. I have our guys reach out to guys on the phone and talk about their experience with me and what they, you know, and then that's helped me tremendously. Some of the kids we got coming in this year, they've talked to some of the former players like, hey, you know, Coach Stafford is going to do this with you. He gets in the gym, he's going to work on your shoot, he's going to make your shot better. So you don't ever anticipate having a down year. I know that's always a possibility, but the way we kind of combat it is making sure that we're part of our culture is, you know, when you guys go, you go on and you win and you be successful at the Division I level, you're reaching back, talking to guys to say, hey, that's the place you need to go. Or you need to go to Ranger because I'm where I'm at now because this is what Ranger was able to do for me and Coach Staff was able to do this for me. So that's kind of one of the things that we try to get done here. And you know, God willing, knock on wood, we haven't had any letdowns about bad years, and we're just kind of hoping that we can kind of keep the ball rolling with that.
Coach, what's the formula behind that, though? I mean, a lot of times in my experience, kids at the high school level all think they're Division I players.
Right.
And a lot of times they end up JUCO because of academic reasons. And even when I was at the JUCO level, it was either he wasn't ready athletically or he wasn't ready academically, and that's why he ended up with us. So if you're getting kids that's academically ready, that's saying that they're not athletically ready. But in order to have the success you had, it has to be some type of formula to say, hey, do I take low major kids? Like, oh, you got some low major offers, but if you come to Ranger for a year, you can get a mid major. Or if you get mid major kids, it's like you got mid major offers, but you come with us for a year, you can get some high majors. Like, what's the formula behind changing that mindset of a 17, 18-year-old?
That's basically what you said is what we do. We talk about, you know, putting yourself in a better situation. A lot of times we'll find, you know, it's just with the way it's just so much basketball out there, a lot of kids get missed at the end of the day. And so those are the ones I try to go find and talk to them about, hey, yeah, you're getting these offers from these low major schools who are at the bottom of the low major conferences, you know, but you're a better, you know, and what I usually do, I ask them, you know, how good do you think you are? And every kid is going to say they're better than where they're getting recruited. That's just kind of how it is. So I take that and I build on that. You know, if that's the case, let's do this. You come here for a year, let's work on this. And I'm really specific about the things they have to work on. I talk directly to them about what they have to work. And I'm very honest. I mean, that's the one thing that, you know, no kid has ever been recruited by me to say Coach Staff has ever lied to me. I try to tell people, you may not like what I say, but you're going to know where you're at and you're going to know where I'm at. And I think that's all you can ask at the end of the day is somebody's honest with you. And the biggest problem, you kind of touched on it a little bit, so many people have been telling them that they're better than what they really are. And I'm able to articulate that to them in a kind way to let them understand, you know, I'm not trying to kill you, but I'm just being honest with you that, you know, like I had a kid the other day, I was talking to him and I told him, I said, you know, RJ, you're physically, you got it. You're good to go. Mentally, you're not ready to play the Division I level. I'm going to tell you what's going on. And I say, I'm going to tell you, I had kids like you in the past. They've come to play for us at Division I level. They didn't end up playing as much and they end up transferring. So if you want to run that risk of doing that, then do it. Or you can come here for a year, get re-recruited, and be better prepared to walk into a college situation ready to be able to play. And so I don't know if I just, you know, God shine down on me and put me in the face in front of kids who just were going to be receptive to what I'm saying. But it's, you know, that's kind of what people, you know, they take in, they understand it. And the parents are really, you know, when you get to talk to the parents, because I'm really good on involving the parents in the whole recruiting process, they like to hear that. They like to hear that somebody's being honest with their kid and telling them that. You know, every now and then you're going to have a parent who thinks this kid is, you know, the next Jordan or Kobe. But at the end of the day, most of them are pretty understanding, and because of my track record, and I've had so many players I've sent to the Division I level. I've had so many players who have played at the NBA level. I've had so many players who played overseas professionally that people can just trust what I'm saying. They don't question what I'm saying. And so, you know, and I'm really honest. Like I tell a lot of these guys, hey, if you come sign with me, and let's say you blow up between now and July, and the Division I team come in and they want to offer you a scholarship, I'll be the first one to tell you to go. Because at the end of the day, you're coming here to put yourself in a position to get to that level. Well, if you can get there without coming here, why would you come here? And so, again, just being honest with people, and when you're honest with them, they know, they see your sincerity, and at the end of the day, it usually works out better for you that way.
Now let's kind of switch a little bit, Coach, out because I know you have a wife, you have the kids. What struggles have you had or that you still have? Let's go with the ones that you've had that you've overcome in terms of balancing the family man and the coach and the demand of that.
That's a challenge. I mean, it's really a challenge. And I tell guys, like when I talk to young guys that get in the business, I'm like, you got to try to educate the person that you're trying to be with about what you're doing and what you're getting into. Because most women and most wives, they don't understand it. You know, you can tell them they think they do, but they don't really understand the commitment you have to have. And then the other area that I think that they struggle at is depending on who you're working for. I mean, if you're working for a guy who's demanding of your time and demanding you to be in the office, that's tough. It is. And I've had a couple of guys I work for like that. So, I mean, where I'm in the office from 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't leave until 8 o'clock at night. I'm pulling 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week. It just, you know, you hope that you can work with guys who don't do that or who have some kind of balance themselves. But if you're working for a guy who doesn't have a lot of balance, you tend to have to be in that office a little bit more than you say you necessarily want to be in there. So that's been a challenge. My wife, Tracy, she's been, you know, she's had her times when she's been really frustrated with what's going on. But at the end of the day, she understands that, you know, I love her and I'm trying to do what's going to be right for my family, but also I have a job that I have to get done. In terms of transitioning over to this, you know, this seat is a whole lot better because I control the schedule now. So I can do everything around kind of my family. And that's why I told my wife I've been working for all these years to put myself in a position where, you know, I can dictate the schedule and I can, you know, and with my assistants, I'm really good about making sure that I'm not monopolizing their time more. Like I tell them, you know, if there's something you can do with your wife, go do it. Go spend that time with her. Go spend that time with your kids. And so, because there's going to be times I'm going to have you. I'm going to need you to be here with me. So as much as I can, I know I'm going to do it for myself, but I'm also trying to do it with my assistants, you know, give them that time and not have them feel like I can't take any time away or I can't get away. Because my thing is if I can get them, if they feel good about that and they know that I care about their situation and their families, they're going to work that much harder for them at the end of the day. You know, and that's the hope for it. And I'm different from a lot of coaches. I'm not a micromanager. And that's why I would never hire guys who need to be micromanaged because I don't like to be micromanaged, so I'm not going to hire guys that want to be micromanaged or need to be micromanaged. I need you to be a guy that's going to go out there and get things done and get stuff taken care of and thinking ahead. And so foreseeing things that could happen and making it, you know, whatever adjustments or whatever you need to do so that we don't have problems on the back end of that. So.
All right, so here's my next question to you, Coach, is this. It's kind of a two-part question.
Okay.
One, how do you handle players and social media, right? And the second one, in light of everything that's happening racially, politically in our country now, how are you handling that with your program and your players?
In terms of how handling the racial stuff is going, they haven't been here, so we haven't had a chance to, since everything's really gotten intense. We haven't had a chance to. One of the areas, you know, when we get back up, obviously there's going to be some discussions we're going to have. I want them to feel like the environment is going to be a safe environment to express how you feel. You know, spend time and energy educating them on ways to actually deal with it, whatever your frustrations are about this, and do it in the appropriate way. Again, these are all things I'm anticipating of how I want to handle it. Again, when we get here, the kids may be a lot more angrier than I think they're going to be. And so then we might have to intensify that a little bit. In terms of the social media, which kind of go hand in hand with that kind of stuff, just really educating these guys on how, you know, you can't keep putting your life out there on the social media because everybody's watching it. I mean, I know they've been doing it in football for a few years and they're starting to do it in basketball too at the Division I level. They're designating guys, and that's all they do is just scroll through social media all day. So they get a grad assistant, and that's what he's doing. And the guys are recruiting, and it happened with my son. He had an opportunity to go to a Southland conference school, and kept putting some things on the social media. And you know, the guy said it happened again. I'm telling you, coach gonna pull a scholarship offer. He did it again. They pulled the scholarship offer, and you know, again. Like I used to say, you know, like my wife was like, why did I get a Twitter? I got it because at the end of the day, I wanted to monitor what my kids were doing. I wanted to monitor their friends and see what they was, and that was the only way I could do it without, standing over them. And so just like I used it as a parent, coaches use that as a tool, and the same thing as a Division I or Division II or NAI or Division III. Coaches want to know what they're getting, and they want to know. And usually, most kids they're putting themselves in a position that they're telling who they are on social media. So you try to educate them on that and understand that if you do something really crazy on social media, one day this ball is going to stop bouncing. You're going to have to go into a job interview, and that might be the only thing that guy knows about you is what I saw on social media. You don't want to put yourself in that position. And so, we just talk a lot about, I would never ban my guys from doing it because there's a lot of good that comes out of it. I mean, I've been able to do a lot of self-promotion of our program through social media, and a lot of people know, a lot of people know a lot about Ranger because of stuff that I've done and I've put in on social media. So I don't want to ban them from doing it, but at the same time, I want them to be wise and have an understanding that you're not going to be 18, 19, 20 years old for the rest of your life, and if you're making some bad decisions now, they'll haunt you down the road. Just trying to educate them on that and using those avenues for positive things for themselves.
I'm going to ask you this question, Coach, but I really want to pose it to everybody. So if you guys can jump in as well, I definitely would appreciate that. I was on a Zoom call about 2 days ago, and the question was posed as the head coach. If your players decide, they come to you and say, hey, coach, for the national anthem, we're going to kneel. How do you handle that situation if some want to do it and some don't?
Well, we're going to be a united front. That's how we're going to do that. I mean, that's one thing. I'm just, however, we're going to come to some agreement. And if that's not how, if that's not how we're going to do it, we'll figure out another way. Because again, I want people to have freedom of speech. I mean, I think that the thing with Colin Kaepernick and how now people are coming back and realizing that, they better understand why he did what he did and why that was a peaceful way of getting awareness out to the issue that he wanted to get out. I think people took it the wrong way. And in some ways I did too initially. I was like, I just didn't know if that was the best way to address it. But now that the things have happened the way that they have, I fully understand and support what he did at the end of the day. It had nothing to do with what everybody wanted to make it out to be. It had to do with social injustices were happening to his people. And at the end of the day, I want my guys to be able to stand up. I want my guys to be able to have a voice. And I want them to do it in the correct way. So if it happens, and they came to me and that's what they want to do, we're either going to all do it, we're not going to do it. But if we are not going to all do it, let's find another way to deal with it. So whatever that is, we'll figure out something. Because I never ever want to silence my players, especially young people. What we want to do is teach them how to communicate and how to get issues addressed and how to get things done. And you don't do that by muzzling them or telling them no or not allowing them to be able to express themselves. They need to be able to express themselves. I think it's our role to be able to help them to figure out the best way to be able to do that where it could get the most bang for its buck.
I just want to jump in on it from a leadership perspective too. I think the mindset of the world has changed over the last 3 weeks. I was on the Zoom last night and one of my friends said, hey, it's like black people got here 3 weeks ago. It's like we wasn't even thought of prior to George Floyd getting choked out, right? So now you got the opportunity to have a united front and everybody take a knee or do those things. Where I work at, I mean, it's 98% white. The majority of the black males is an all males Catholic school. The majority of the males that's in our school that are African American are black. I'm the first black head coach ever there. And when Kaepernick started taking the knee, my administration came to me and was like, hey, coach, listen, we don't want to take no knees. Like they just came, like I had to preach to school, like that's not what we want to do. And in my mind, me just being a forward thinker, I wasn't even in the environment where I would want our team to take a knee because I didn't want to add any type of added pressures or anything to detract away from us having a chance to win games and bringing unnecessary media and unnecessary attention because it was looked at in such a negative light when Kaepernick started to do it. But I think now, within these last 3 weeks and moving forward, we've definitely had an opportunity to have freedom of speech and do those type of things. And as a head coach, you just got to make sure that your locker room stays together on a united front where it's, hey, we all taking knees or ain't nobody taking a knee.
Right.
Because if you allow half the team to take a knee and half the team to stand up, then your locker room don't even got the right cohesion. So I think to answer that, Mendel, is just that the state of America has changed in the last 28 days.
I agree with
Mandel?
both of you guys. You know, we've got a large team. We have 2 JV teams at an NAIA school. We're tuition driven, where we got a large team, 2 JV teams and a varsity team. So we'll have close to 40 guys. I'm really going to try and listen and learn. I hope we can be on a united front like you guys are talking about. I think that's really important. But the first step for me is just listening and listening to everybody, and then taking some time to process some things. Well, hopefully it leads to being on a united front.
So
at the end of the day, the biggest thing is just change. I mean, just change. I mean, and what any and everybody can do to help that and push that forward. I just think people have to do that now. We can't sit back on the sidelines and be quiet and say nothing. I mean, you have to figure out some way to be able to do it so that some change can be made. So.
I was just going to say that basically my answer would be similar to Matt's. I think the first thing is definitely listening. I don't know ultimately what my decision would be. It would be nice if everybody was together in one decision or not together in a different decision, but I don't think ultimately that's the way that it would go if that was what our players chose to do. So I'm not entirely certain that I would try to force a united front, but I would encourage it.
And again, I don't think that you can really force anything. At the end of the day, I just think you have to say, we're going to figure out some way that we're going to all do this thing, or we're going to all do this thing, or we're going to all do this thing. I just don't think you can have it divided, because if it's divided, I just think people look at that and say there'll be no benefit from that, because nobody else will see that the team is divided on this. So it's like, you guys don't even, you guys aren't even together on this one issue. So how can you guys come out here and expect change or ask for change? So I just think if they can't be all together, you just don't let them do it. You educate them on let's figure out a different way that everybody's comfortable with. And there's I think the climate is changing. I do. I think it's changing. And as Travis said, in the last 3 weeks, it's different now. So I think now is the time you got to jump on these opportunities to kind of get everybody on that same page. And I think people probably are a lot more willing to be on the same page than they were, say, maybe a year ago. So.
Now, does that type of questions come up at all during your recruiting process, whether it's from parents or the kids, in terms of where do you stand?
It's never came up as a question to me, but I mean, the discussions that happened with probably about 3 or 4 of the recruits. I mean, and I've been blown away with the maturity of some of these kids and some, their outlook on everything and how they feel and their ability to express how they feel. I've talked to a few parents. We've had discussions about it, and right now it's kind of it's easy for everybody to be on the same page, because I mean, you can't look at the George Floyd video and think anything other than that was just completely the wrong thing to do. So, so it's kind of easy right now for everybody to be on the same page. So I haven't ran into that in any recruitment, but it comes up in discussions. It does. And part of, I'm a lot different probably for a couple of reasons. One, I was telling somebody yesterday, like 4 or 5 years ago, God kind of came and spoke to me about, you're really not a coach. I've given you this position so that you can do my work, and the work is, to change lives, and I'm supposed to be able to affect lives in a positive way and affect young people in a positive way. And he just gave me an arena of basketball as a basketball coach to do. It's like I try to tell people, I guess the court in my pulpit, that I have the opportunity that I don't voice that they're going to listen to it. But like I tell people, if I was an English teacher or a math professor, they wouldn't listen to me like they listen to me. But because I'm the basketball coach, I not only have my team to listen to me, I have people all on campus listening to me right now. So I understand I have opportunity to do some special things here. And I say that about myself, and I use that in the recruiting process. Like I tell a lot of these guys, your decision about where you go to school is not a basketball decision. you're going to be okay basketball. Like I tell you, you're going to play Division I basketball. If you come here, if you go to Southwest Christian, who was finished in the last place in our conference, you're good enough, you're going to go play Division I basketball. You got to find out who's going to help you grow and develop in the areas outside of basketball. And I spent a lot of time talking with the recruits and the parents about that he's not just coming here to play basketball. He's coming here so I can try to help him become an even better man at the end of the day. So.
Questions, gentlemen?
Yeah, I guess I'll finish with two questions. The first would be, what type of things do you do to help that man development, to help that maturity growth? So, for example, with us, like when we pick our captains, they got to create a resume, go through a panel interview, have 2 letters of recommendation, just anything that you would do just to become the head coach at Ranger. They go through that same process. So that way when they graduate, I know, hey, they know what an interview is, they know what a resume is, they know what references are, those type of things. And then the second piece is just at what point, or who were you at Toledo with?
Stan Joplin was my head coach.
What years were you there?
Oh, I was there 2000, I think it was 2003 to 2006.
Okay. So I was at Eastern when you was at Toledo. I played for Ramsey.
Okay, you played Ram. That's my man.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Detroit.
All right. It's a small world, bro.
Yeah. I talked to Rams probably about a month ago.
Yeah. So one of my best friends, Carlos Medlock. I played with Bowdry, all them dudes. So.
Okay.
Is there anybody that don't know Travis? We love you, man, but
No, there's not.
It's a small world, man. When you can put the ball in the basket, you tend to know a lot of people.
Yeah, you get to know a lot of people.
Hey, I hear you. Hey, Coach, out of respect for your time, we have about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
What are 3 things that you can, if you can have a conversation with a youngest you, what are 3 things that you would tell them and why?
Let me say this first, Travis. I might steal that idea of the interview for my captains this year. I like that idea. But 3 things I probably would say to younger me: have more conviction about things that you believe in. As a young coach, I sat back and didn't say things that I probably should have said. And the reason for that is because that could have made a difference in some kids' ability to perform the way they need to perform. So that's one thing I think I would do, just have more conviction about stuff. Like now as an older coach, I do. I had no problem with that now, but when I was younger, I probably didn't do as good a job with that. I think, what else would I say? I probably at a younger age would have learned more about the offensive side of the game. I spent so much time spending a lot of time on the defensive side, and now that's because the guys I played for, that's what they were about. They played great defense, and we played great defense when I played, and so that just became who I was. And then also I had teams that weren't I used to coach in the Detroit Public School League, and we were it was a high academic school, Renaissance High School, and we was really high academic school. So I didn't have the athletes that everybody else had. So I had to figure out a way to be successful, and that's how we figured it out. We grinded out games like the old bad boys, Detroit Pistons. I mean, we would grind stuff out. So I probably would tell myself, learn more about the offensive game, learn more about that at an earlier age, and that probably would have helped me grow and develop a little bit better. I guess the third thing I would say to myself is, understand that this is not about basketball completely. The basketball is just your arena that you're using. But and I think I did do this, but I didn't do it with the with the conviction of going into it and telling players and talking to players about it and talking to players about what they need to use basketball for, kind of some stuff that Travis, one of the questions he asked me, I mean, one of the things that I do with the development, like these kids, they get, a lot of our guys get their Pell Grants back. And so I bring them in and we sit down and we manage, we go through a budget and talk about, purchasing their tickets to go home, putting money away for this. If they want to get a car to do this. Some of these young men, last year we had a kid who had twins. the girlfriend had twins, and so we're talking about putting money away for the girls and doing some stuff for that. And then I got a kid coming in this year who's about to have a baby next month, and talked about how we're going to manage his money. So that again, one of the areas I think that we don't do in the African American community do a good enough job of is we don't talk to our young people about money and managing money and their finances and that kind of deal. And so I try to really get involved with helping them understand that. Also try to get them, all my players involved with setting goals and doing things like that in terms of setting goals so that they can be better prepared and understanding that, if you got something you want to see done in 5 years, you need to start working on that now, because everything you're doing now, you're going to see is going to affect you the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and talking to them about that, how that's going to be affected by the decisions they're making today. So.
All right, Coach Stafford, I greatly appreciate you, sir. It is 4:30 now.
Okay.
Had a blast. I know the rest of the rising coaches did too. You want to leave out your information if you want, that people can reach out to you. What's the best way to reach out to you?
You got all my contact. You can give it out to people, but it's the best way is through phone or email. If you email me, I can get you all my information. It's jstafford@rangercollege.edu. So they want to you guys want to reach out and stay in contact. That's one thing I'll tell you guys, man, in coaching. Just always connect with people. You just never know that one conversation could make a difference. And my first job when I got hired by Stu Jackson was because it was a good conversation I had with him. And I didn't know any better. I was 23 years old. Just had a conversation with him. He really liked the conversation, and he decided he was going to hire me. So you just never know.
All right, Coach. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
I will, man. I appreciate you guys.
Say hello to the
much.
family.
Appreciate
you guys.
Coach.
You guys have a good one, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, fellas, another great one in the books. See you guys next week, Friday, 3:30, with Coach Lisa Willis, former WNBA and now with the Westchester Knicks. So it's going to be a fun one. And if you do need Coach Stafford information, just shoot me a text or message or email. I'll get that out to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And I'm good about getting back. If I don't right away, trust me, it's not personal. It's just I
can vouch to that. He will get back to you.
I will get back to you, everybody. So.
All right, guys.
I appreciate your time, man. You guys have a good one.
All right, fellas. Thanks, Coach.